Now it's time to bring back co-host Jeff Small, as well as our next guest, Dee Carter, president of Carter Financial Group, a retirement income store in Midland, Texas. Dee is also the Amazon best-selling author of the book, It's Now or Never. Dee, great to have you, as usual, back here on the show.
It's always good to be with you, David. This is a particularly interesting time in our careers and in the life of our business, I'll tell you.
It is, and I'd like to start from your perspective with what's going on with oil, because you've got your finger on the pulse. Last week, Mark Faber said oil stocks should be doing well through 2021. We just heard that from John Nigerian. We're now back in the mid-40s on WTI. How's that affected your area? And you concur that the worst is over from an oil perspective? We just need some time to kind of get back to normal for profitability on oil companies.
We're getting back toward normal right now, David, but the problem is when you shut something down like the oil industry, like we did way back in March and April, and they laid off so many people, it takes a while to get that thing back rolling again. And we're at $45.15 a barrel, which is what it was this morning, West Texas crude. That's a great price for us. The companies can start making money at $40 to $45 a barrel. So they're starting to line up the rigs. They're starting to rehire the people, put the people back on. So we're seeing an uptick in the economy. But the sales tax revenue in Midland, Texas, for the last quarter was down 33%, which gives you some idea of how people are not buying anything right now because they're either not employed or they're waiting for this thing to come back. I think we're going to see it come back, and I agree with what could happen in the next year with the oil situation, as long as we don't get into a situation with Russia and Iraq and China and a situation like that.
Of course.
We're heading in the right direction.
Of course. Jeff?
So Dee, this was a really challenging year for many, many Americans, especially our clients. We've been whipsawed back and forth in the markets, and for the folks that had safe money and safe investments, boy, they were really thinking their hindsight here and making those kinds of decisions. So going forward to 2021, though, what are you telling your clients for 2021? Are we being more optimistic? Are we being more defensive? What do you suggest to your retired clients and your pre-retired clients today?
Great question, Jeff. We are looking at in our area, and we have to really talk about the West Texas area and the Texas area in itself. We're looking at a little bit more of an optimistic look if the oil companies come back and the price of oil returns. I think we can be a little bit more optimistic in where we're going with our funds. But at the same time, we're telling people, don't forget where you've gone and what's happened in the past. We've really got a track to run on. And if you're looking for retirement or immediate retirement, some of my retirees, we're not going to be sticking our neck out too far in order to retain what we've got. We want to make sure we're safe where we are as much as humanly possible and be able to retain where we are. But I think there's going to be some options out there in the next 6 months to a year, depending on the government, how they operate, that our clients should be able to benefit from that. So we're just going to have to watch it. Basically, I'm literally on a day-to-day basis right now.
It's interesting. We have to take a commercial break in just a few seconds. And when we come back, speaking of government, I want to talk to you about this because your state filed the suit, went to the Supreme Court to try to keep the president in office again in January. So I'm very interested in getting your take on that and what the sentiment is for that. But we'll be back in a minute right here on the Income Generation. Much more to come from our good friend Dee Carter. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're here with Jeff Small and Dee Carter, president of Carter Financial Group, a retirement income store in Midland, Texas. So Dee, your state, don't mess with Texas, right? Went to the Supreme Court and said you need to disallow all the electoral votes from 4 states. Help me out. What's going on out there?
Well, the main, what I think the main thing is, quite frankly, and I'll share this with our watchers, is that our governor may be thinking about running for president. So he's trying to get his name out in front of everybody else right now. But what they're really trying to accomplish, obviously, is to throw out the electoral ballots. And if they do, they throw the whole thing into the government, into the House of Representatives and the Senate. And that's the whole idea behind it. Is it going to work? I don't know. 18 states now have lined up behind it as of this morning, which is a big factor in itself. Even a couple, in fact, New Mexico of all things, a red state or a blue state right now, has asked for all of the votes to be impounded in the state of New Mexico this morning. So it's kind of like it's something rolling downhill. It's crazy what's going on. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't think anybody else knows where it's going to go. The Supreme Court has various opinions on the situation. So we're waiting to see, but it really looks like this is a last ditch effort, a last gasp effort, if you will, to get to accomplish getting President Trump back into office. But will it work? I have not a clue. I really don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to do like you guys. We're going to watch it.
Yeah, we have 1 month to go to find out for sure. Jeff?
Yeah.
Well, the basis for the legal arguments are there. There's lots of fundamental issues. Our voting, our electoral system really is what I would call porous. It's grotesquely inaccurate. There's no accountability, and the margin for error is very large. And I mean, the problems with our voting system really came out in 2000 with Bush versus Gore. So this doesn't surprise me. So the side that wins and cheats doesn't really care about how they won, and the side that loses knows the other side's cheated, cares. And then what we have is a situation where the judiciary now has got to determine how do we fix the problem or, overturn an election? And there's no way a judiciary, even the Supreme Court, is ever going to do that unless they've got, true proof of a conspiracy that's actually occurred, other than the porousness of the voting machines and the USB sticks and the ballots that have no names and, all these different things that happen. So there's no doubt it's crazy, but I don't think we live in free America anymore. I don't think we live in a free electoral process, D. I think those days are over.
I totally agree. And I agree with what you're saying. I don't think the Supreme Court will overturn anything. They do not want to get into the electoral situation at all. They're a judicial branch. They want to stay that way. In order to remain that way and to retain their, if you will, bipartisan nature, although I'm not sure that's always the case either, they're not going to do anything about this. So I really don't see this happening, even if they could prove some of these things. And right now, some of the things they're trying to prove are really very, very vague, to say the least. But it's an effort on the part of the Republican side to do what they can to at least, what I hope it does. I hope it clears up some of the things that we have in the future, and perhaps we'll get some of those election things cleared up for the next go around, and maybe we won't have this problem again. But we've had this kind of stuff way back before 2000.
But Congress has to fix it. Congress has to fix it. And you know what that means? That means it's not going to be fixed.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's a job killer if you try to fix it. So they're going to say, it's like on the Social Security side. They're not fixing that either because it's a job killer. So they're going to sit there on their hands and do absolutely nothing and watch this thing take place. So those of us who are going to be affected by it just have to sit and wait and see what happens.
So, I tend to agree, and ultimately, I always believe in trying to focus on what we can control. And at this point, the control of that is out of our hands, except for just speculation. So what's the message you most want to send to our income generation viewers, listeners, in terms of goals they should have toward 2021, New Year's resolutions, and what they should be focusing on?
Well, what we're telling our clients, and I had a client in yesterday, we were talking about this very subject, and I said, you don't change your horses in midstream. It doesn't matter what the stream is doing. It may be going up or down, but you don't change your horses. What you do is you stay with the things that are working, regardless of what's going on. And when you're planning for income, that will overcome any kind of obstacles on either side of the aisle. It really doesn't matter, because if you're planning for income, you've removed yourself as much as humanly possible from the areas of risk, and you're trying to move toward a guaranteed situation. As much as you can guarantee anything, at least something that where you can live off the interest and the dividends on your investment and make sure that your principal is safe. I don't think it doesn't matter what happens. You don't change your horses in midstream. You continue to do what you've done and what's working for you. And that's what we're telling our clients right now. Stay the course. It's there. Let's stay with it.
That's good. It's good advice. And as long as we don't end up with a messed up runoff in Georgia and go blue wave, then stay in the course absolutely is the best advice. Dee, thanks so much for being back with us.
It was a great time. I enjoyed being with you guys again.
And you stay with us too. We have more coming up here in just a moment on the Income Generation. We'll be right back.